Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. We're here with a very good friend of mine, a special guest, Senior Vice President Eric Pratt of Gun Owners of America. Eric, thank you for your time. I know you're extremely busy, man. It's great to see you, especially after the holiday.
Oh, absolutely. It is great to be with you again. It's been a while. I always enjoy these times together. And so anyway, thank you so much for having me on, because what we have to talk about is really, really important.
Yeah, huge one, big one today, and it's limited time, so pay attention, y'all. First, I want to thank the sponsor of the video. When I do these videos, it helps out with the support of Blackout Coffee. Check us out, blackoutcoffee.com/GNG, and you can look right over Eric's right shoulder, and you can see the coffee we do with Gun Owners of America. You buy one of those, whether it's K-Cup or a bag of coffee, we give $2 for every item sold right to GOA, so that they can do what they're doing right now that we're about to talk about. Links down below. Thank you for your support. And also support those who support you. Join Gun Owners of America. I'm a life member, and I implore you to actually join these groups. Folks, all you got to do is skip a pizza, and you can join for the year of GOA. Link is down below in every single video. Please help support those who support you. Eric, we're here to talk about yet another attempt by Joe Biden's unconstitutional ATF to further restrict the rights of Americans, specifically the Second Amendment, to the right to keep and bear arms. Tell the folks a little bit about this rule, what it looks to do in the visual part of it. I'll put the rule up. This is the engage in the business rule. Eric, tell folks about the rule and why we should be paying attention.
Absolutely. So what this means, the engaged in the business rule, for the first time in history, our federal government will require virtually every person who sells a gun privately to become a licensed gun dealer, and virtually every person who buys a gun, even privately, to register the sale with the federal government. Of course, Jared, the problem there is, registration is a first step to gun confiscation, and that's one reason why we need to fight this. We're asking people to take action, as you've shown there on the screen. We've made it very easy for people. They can just go to gunowners.org/GNG. That's your personalized link that we have for you. And as people click on that link, presto, they can send the ATF a pre-written letter opposing this rule. And that's really how we can defeat this. But let me tell you, there's a lot of blame to go around on this. It's not just Joe Biden. You can also blame Senator John Cornyn for leading 14 other Senate Republicans last year to pass legislation that the Biden administration is now using to implement these restrictions. And so think about what this means for any person to become a gun dealer just so that they can sell some of their guns. It means you're going to have to keep perfect registration records on the guns that you buy or sell. It means you're going to have to let the ATF inspect these records. And the worst part is you're going to have to leave your home open to warrantless searches by the ATF once a year. I mean, imagine that. Once a year, the ATF will be able to enter your home and inspect your records and your guns. And by the way, if you sell a gun and the ATF ever determines you should have become a gun dealer, but you didn't, now you're facing 5 years in jail and a $250,000 fine. That's why taking action is so important. Again, gunowners.org/GNG.
Awesome. I couldn't have said it any better. That's why I wanted you to do it. On the screen here, guys, you can see what that link Eric just told you goes to. They've made it super, super simple for you to send a comment to the ATF. And one of the reasons Eric and I are doing this, and I'll go back to the actual page on the register in a minute, there's not a lot of comments there. And these federal rulemaking processes, all the agencies, not just ATF, they need to hear from us in not supporting this rule, because if all they hear is support by moms, every town and all those groups, then there's really no reason to say, well, America doesn't want it. So on the screen, all you have to do is put in your first, last name, your email, and then you can customize the comment. Go through that comment, read it. I always say, put a little bit of something in there that makes it more personal to you. Because the last thing, somebody who's going through comments wants to see is 150,000 identical comments. So change it up, make it a little personal. You can add 1-2 sentences of why you don't think ATF should force you to become an FFL if you want to sell one of your lawfully owned items, or what it means to you. Like, you don't think you should be forced to register to start a registry, stuff like that. There's a lot of ways you can go, and GOA has made it extremely easy. Link is down below. We also have a deadline. Now, if I can do this without blowing up my computer, I'm going to go back to the ATF's rule here. And there we go. So we have 6 days, y'all. 6 days left. I'm going to zoom in there so they all can see it at home. The comment period ends on December 7th. And you can see there's 302,000 comments received. We need to pump up those numbers. Eric, I'm sitting at home. I'm watching this video, not sure why I should make a comment. I'm one of those people who says the government never listens. What do you have to say to that type of person who thinks that or feels that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I would say is that these comment periods have been very instrumental in the past at either killing gun control, or defeating gun control entirely, or getting them to roll back big portions of it. People might remember the Obama green tip ammo ban, right, on 223, 5.56 ammunition. They received tens of thousands of comments, almost 100,000 comments, and they pulled the entire reg as a result because of the overwhelming outpouring of opposition against that. More recently, you might remember with one of Biden's first executive actions on guns, he tried to redefine what a gun is. The supposed purpose was to stop people from buying 80% kits without a background check. But in redefining a gun, the original ATF proposal was going to increase the number of serialized parts on a gun from just 1 to more than 12 parts. So in other words, if you wanted new parts for an existing gun, a magazine, a barrel, a trigger, something along those lines, you are going to have to pass a background check to get any one of those parts, just like you'd have to pass a background check to buy a gun. Crazy, right? Well, thankfully, the ATF received over 60,000 comments from GOA members and activists in opposition to this. And the ATF admitted it. They said GOA members had submitted a large number of comments, and so they made several concessions, and they nixed that multiple registration requirement. Now, they still went ahead with the requirement, and we're fighting it in court. But thank goodness that we don't at least have to, that would have been super onerous to have to pass background checks on every single little item that pertaining to a firearm. So all to say, activism does make a difference. And that's why it's so important to, go to that link, gunowners.org/GNG, and send your comments off to the ATF. That does make a huge difference.
So one of the things that folks have asked me about after I've done my initial video on this, when they announced the rulemaking, is the registration part. Eric, for those who that should be on their mind, for those who aren't really convinced about that, talk to that part of this rule, please.
Yeah, the Biden administration themselves, spokesmen for the administration, have described this rule as moving the U.S. as close to universal background checks as possible without additional legislation. So, what that means is every person who buys a gun virtually is going to need to fill out a 4473 form. And of course, the individual who sells the gun is going to have to keep that form until it gets turned into the ATF. So again, we're talking about gun owner registration because every sale goes through a background check. And so that's pernicious in and of itself because registration is a first step to gun confiscation. But think of it more in the immediate sense too. What happens when the NICS background check system is down? Answer, you probably won't be able to buy a gun. Right. Or what happens when the FBI mistakenly rejects you and you can't buy a gun at a dealer's business, well, you're also out of luck because you won't be able to buy a gun privately, since that will also have to go through a NICS background check. Or what happens when the Biden's ATF forces thousands upon thousands of gun dealers out of business by imposing their zero tolerance policy? Again, you're not going to be able to find a way to buy a gun. And that's the irony here. With this rule, the Biden administration is forcing private sellers to become dealers on the one hand, but then they're forcing existing gun dealers out of business on the other hand. I mean, this is so purely diabolical what the Biden administration is doing. So having said all of this, if you are approved to buy a gun, then that firearms purchase will be registered with the ATF, and they're going to have this massive gun registry. Currently, it's at almost 1 billion records. And, the danger is, as we've already seen, the Biden administration wants to ban firearms. It gives them now a list of people who have firearms. And so, that's the bad news. The good news is that when this rule is finalized, our attorneys are going to be able to challenge it in court. And if the judges follow the Supreme Court's Bruin decision, we're going to win. But in the meantime, people can and should be taking action. And of course, the way to do that is by going to that link at gunowners.org/GNG. That makes a huge difference. That's how we can kill this and pare it back.
And I'll add, for those watching, the reason we know about that billion-plus searchable registry is because of the work of GOA, and they do that based off of their membership helping out. So hit that link down below again and become a member of GOA. It's one of the reasons I asked Eric to come on here, not only so that he can say it much better and more eloquently than I can, but to show you what GOA is doing. I get those comments and questions all the time, but you can see that GOA is involved not just in the education side, not just in the legislative side, but they're actually involved as well in the courts. So your money goes to support all this. Yes, it's tough times out there right now, but if anything helps, right? Any little bit helps. Support those who support you. Join Gun Owners of America. If you're a member, you can still donate more money because it all helps. Eric, man, thank you so much for your time. It means so much to me that you've carved out a little time for the viewers here on Guns and Gadgets. As always, my friend, it's a pleasure to be a friend, to call you a friend. And if you ever need me for anything, I am here. Keep kicking ass in Washington.
Hey, thanks so much. And really, back to you. Thanks so much for what you're doing, keeping everybody informed, making time to do this. It makes a huge difference. So thanks. Thanks a lot, Jared.
Thank you, brother.